456 people stood at the starting line. This is the second season of Squid Game. The main character, Gi-hun, is player 456. The first game is red light, green light. A giant doll stands at the finish line. The organizers announce the game rules. Gi-hun pushes his way to the front and shouts, All eyes turn to Gi-hun. He declares, "This is not an ordinary game. If you lose, you'll die right here." The players don't believe him at all. They suspect Gi-hun might be crazy. How could you die just by playing a game? You must be trying to scare us so you can keep the 45.6 billion won prize for yourself. Gi-hun desperately continues, "You have to believe me." The organizers cut him off. The game is about to begin. The 5-minute countdown starts. The Squid Game begins. Gi-hun faces the crowd, standing like a commander. Each time the giant doll stops speaking, Gi-hun signals everyone to stay perfectly still. The doll's eyes, equipped with high-speed sensors, scan the field furiously, searching for any movement in their line of sight. But no one moved. Gi-hun reminds everyone, if you move at the right time and stop precisely when needed, you'll clear this game. He keeps repeating to the group, "Don't move, don't panic." But the more he speaks, the more frightened everyone gets. After 3 rounds, not a single person has been eliminated. Among the participants is Gi-hun's friend, Jung-bai. Jung-bai turns to Gi-hun, urging him to move forward. Gi-hun responds cautiously, covering his mouth with his arm, assuming a defensive stance. This way, even if he speaks, his movements won't be detected. 6 rounds pass, and still, no one moves. A bee suddenly lands on a woman's neck. Terrified, she flails her arms and screams. Only afterward does she realize she moved. The next second, she is killed on the spot. Someone sees her lifeless body and screams. Others, witnessing her being shot, panic and start running frantically. It turns out Gi-hun was right. Losing really does mean death. Gi-hun shouts desperately, "Don't move. If you move, you'll die." But the crowd, overcome by fear, ignores his warnings. People rush toward the exit, desperate to escape. Gunfire erupts across the field. Each shot claims another life. In the control room, player icons on the monitors vanish one by one. "Stop moving," Gi-hun pleads. After 30 seconds of chaos, the gunfire finally stops and silence falls over the field. As the game resumes, when the doll once again says, "Red light, green light," no one dares to move a muscle. A man with purple hair, trembling, opens a locket and swallows a happy pill for relief. Within the designated time, only Gi-hun advances. He shouts to the others, "When time runs out, anyone who hasn't reached the finish line will die too." The doll's eyes are motion detectors. If you hide behind someone else, it can't detect you. Smaller players should hide behind larger ones, like forming a human train, and move forward together. Gi-hun subtly moves his hand behind his back. As expected, the doll doesn't detect it. Seeing this, the other players finally believe him. With 2 minutes and 19 seconds left on the clock, the players instinctively begin to form orderly lines. Among them, player 188's hands tremble uncontrollably. In the next moment, she's shot and killed. As the game progresses, the players organize into several long queues. The frontman in the control room was totally stunned. They're exploiting the game's loopholes. In Gi-hun's line, a woman accidentally moves. However, since the doll's sensors only detect the front, most player, Gi-hun, because he remains still, she narrowly escapes death. Nearby, Thanos is riding a wave of euphoria. High on his happy pill, he recklessly pushes the players in front of him. 3 people collapse and are immediately shot. While most players are tense and desperate to survive, he seems to be enjoying the game, a maniacal grin plastered on his face. In another line, a large man in the front fails to stop in time and is gunned down. The older man behind him freezes in terror, his eyes wide with fear. Under Gi-hun's careful leadership, the remaining players steadily move forward. Their synchronized movements avoid detection by the doll's sensors. The crowd rushes forward in a frantic sprint, but some still move. The players in front are shot. and those behind are caught in the fallout. One man protests, "I didn't move, she pushed me," but his thigh is still shot. Gi-hun cheers the others on from the finish line. He notices the man pleading for help. Last time, Gi-hun had focused on his own survival, leaving others behind. But now, with only 30 seconds remaining, he makes a split-second decision and runs to the man. Gi-hun tells him, "On the next signal, you need to stand up." He helps the man to his feet, barely managing to keep him steady. Just in time, someone else offers a hand. With only 4 seconds left, everyone is on edge for the three of them. In the final second, all three cross the finish line, but the man is shot. The sniper calmly explains, "I just eliminated one player." Gi-hun didn't expect it. He helped the man to the finish, but it wasn't enough to save him. After this round, the players finally realized the true terror of the game. In their dormitory, they remained silent, each one reflecting on the brutal reality. The Red Guards enter to announce the results. After the first game, only 365 players remain. In the Squid Game hall, an old woman kneels on the ground begging for mercy. "My son owes a debt. I will do anything to pay it back."
제발 살려주세요.
Her son kneels beside him. "I truly understand my mistake. Please, let me go." More and more people kneel, begging for their lives. But the Red Guards remain calm, saying, "We are giving everyone a chance." In the crowd, Gi-hun stands up. According to the third clause of the agreement, if the majority of the participants agree, the game can be suspended. He demands an immediate vote. Before the vote, however, the Red Guards announce the accumulated prize amount. Cash keeps falling into the piggy bank above. Everyone is stunned, their eyes wide with greed. The accumulated prize is 9.1 billion won. If the game ends now, the 365 remaining players will divide the money, each person receiving 24.93 million won. Thanos is not happy. "I almost lost my life playing this game, and now we're only getting a little over 20 million. Gi-hun continues to plead. Life is more important than money. But after the vote, 182 people were for ending the game, while 183 were against it. The game goes on. That night, the players gather around Gi-hun and ask, "What's the second game?" Gi-hun explains, "The second game is Dalgona Candy Game. There are 4 shapes: circle, triangle, star, and umbrella. You have to carve the shape out of the candy." The others hurriedly ask, "Which shape is the easiest?" Gi-hun tells them, "The triangle is the easiest." Then, the next day arrives. The game of Dalgona Candy begins. Everyone lines up under the triangle with Gi-hun at the front. Player 1, standing behind him, asks, "Is the triangle really the easiest?" Gi-hun confidently answers, "Yes." The door opens. Gi-hun confidently steps forward to pick up a piece of candy, thinking, carving a triangle should be easy. But when he opens it, he's immediately stunned. Though it's a triangle, the pattern is incredibly complex. Others, seeing this, become furious. "You said this was the easiest shape? You're trying to get us killed." Amid the shouts, Gi-hun jolts awake from his nightmare. It was all just a dream, but the real second game is about to begin. The players gather in the arena for the second round. This time, the game has changed. Instead of Dalgona Candy, the second game is a team competition with 5 players per group. Gi-hun teams up with Jung-bae. Jung-bae also recruits player 388, Dae-ho, who used to be his comrade. Compared to strangers, comrades are more reliable. Player 1 decides to follow the footsteps of the first season's main antagonist and personally take part in the game. Another team member is a pregnant woman, Jun-hee. The second game of Squid Game begins. This game is a 6-leg pentathlon. The players' legs are tied together and they must start running at the same time. Every 10 yards, there is a checkpoint. One team member from each group must complete a specific task at each checkpoint. The 5 tasks are Dakji, Biseokchigi, Gongi, Jegi, and Spinning Top. Once a task is completed, they can move on to the next stage. The goal is to cross the finish line within 5 minutes to succeed. In Gi-hun's team, Dae-ho volunteers to play Gongi. He has played this game with his sister since childhood, so he's very skilled. Jun-hee is assigned to hit Dakji. She has won many times playing the same game in the subway with the recruiter. Jung-bae is in charge of hitting Biseokchigi. He used to be a baseball pitcher and is very good at throwing. The remaining 2 tasks go to the player 1s. Player 1 will spin the top, and Gi-hun will kick Jegi. 2 groups of 10 players start simultaneously. The Squid Game continues. The first group is made up of strong men. Player 16 successfully hits the picture card on the first try, but the second player fails to hit the stone tablet. Panicking, the player asks the red guards for another stone, but there's only one stone for each task. After a failure, they must retrieve the stone themselves. The strong men are physically capable, but they're not very agile. They even trip when picking up the stone. After much struggle, they manage to get the stone back, but the man throws it again and misses. The audience watches, feeling sorry for them. After 6 attempts, they finally succeed. The 5 men cheer in relief, but the red guard announces their failure. Looking down, they realize one player stepped over the line. The group is left in despair. On the other side, the second group's situation is different. Although it takes them a long time to hit the picture card, the second player is incredibly skilled at hitting the stone tablet. He nails it on the first try. The third round begins with the woman's turn to play Gonggi. The game rules are as follows. First, toss 1 stone in the air, then quickly grab the remaining 4 stones. Repeat this process for all 5 colored stones. At the end, all the stones must be held in the hand, and when the hand is flipped over, the stones must all be caught to succeed. Her teammates watch anxiously, not daring to speak, afraid that their breathing will disrupt her concentration. The woman is incredibly agile. She succeeds in just 1 round. The 4th round is the spinning top game. The task is to wind the string around the top, then throw the top. As long as the top is spinning, the task is complete. With 1 minute and 39 seconds remaining, player 395 throws the top with all his strength, but fails. His teammates quickly drop to the ground, stretching as far as they can to reach the top. They're almost there, just 1.2 inches left. With one final desperate stretch, they manage to grab the top. They've made it to the 4th round. Player 395 regains his composure, and on his second throw, the top spins successfully. But in the world of Squid Game, the joy of success and the sorrow of failure are never shared. The Squid Game continues. The strong man's group is still struggling in the second round of striking Binge-Watch. The man has completely lost his composure. After the 10th failed attempt, he realizes that death might be imminent. A warm stream flows between his legs, but the teammates couldn't stop crying as they kept picking up the stone. On the 11th try, they finally succeed. The ground is soaked, but as they try to move forward, they see the red guards walking towards them, guns drawn. Turning around, they realize there's no time left. The red guards open fire, and all 5 players are killed instantly. The other group faces the same grim fate, and both teams fail. The remaining players watch as the red guards clean up the scene, loading the bodies into coffins. The only thing the survivors can do is give their all. If they fail, they will die. The third group is ready for their turn. Player 95 is assigned to hit the picture card. After 3 failed attempts, the teammates can't help but feel discouraged. The player on the far side reminds her, place the flat side up. With that, player 95 succeeds immediately. Excited to move on to the second round, player 7 is tasked with hitting Binge-Watch but is too nervous and misses. The team holds hands to retrieve the stone and quickly runs back to save time. His mother tells him to imagine the stone as the face of the person who deceived him. Player 7's anger flares, and with a surge of determination, he hits the target on his next try. The audience cheers for them. Now it's the mother's turn to throw the stone. No one expected that despite her age. She's incredibly agile. On the final attempt, she only needs to grab all 5 stones at once to succeed. Her son gave her a mental hint. Imagine the stones as the face of the woman my dad had an affair with. Suddenly, the mother is filled with energy, and with a loud curse, she throws the stones and succeeds. The audience applauds for them. At this moment, they set aside the competitive nature of the game, genuinely happy for their success. Next, they move to the 4th task, the spinning top game. The woman, a shaman, can't help but tremble at the sight of the bloodstains on the ground. She spends a long time winding the string around the top. Dae-ho, watching from the sidelines, is so anxious that he wishes he could take her place. The shaman murmurs prayers, asking the gods for strength, but after several attempts, the top keeps falling off the string. She starts to believe the gods have abandoned her. Her teammates, especially her mother, grow anxious. At this moment, they must stay strong. The team slaps her face twice to snap her out of it. If you give up, I'll take care of you before the gods do. The shaman wipes away her tears and blood, determined to keep going. The Squid Game becomes even more intense. The shaman carefully winds the string around the top. They have only 35 seconds left. With confidence, she throws the top, and this time, she succeeds on her first try. The crowd erupts into applause. Amidst the cheering, they move on to the 5th round. This challenge requires kicking 5 shuttlecocks in a row. The team asks everyone to turn away so they can focus. They throw the shuttlecock into the air, and the teammates count in unison. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Success! Hand in hand, they run across the finish line just as the clock hits 0. The crowd goes wild, cheering as if they've just won a World Cup. Other teams continue to take their turns. Some make it through joyfully, while others are shot on the spot. The most tragic moments are when players are just about to cross the finish line but run out of time. The scene grows increasingly gruesome, with bloodstains and bodies piling up. As other teams face their fate, Gi-hun's group watches closely, learning from others' mistakes. After observing several teams, it's finally their turn. They encourage one another, making a pact to leave this place together. The Squid Game is getting really exciting. Gi-hun's team enters hand in hand, with Jun-hee hitting the drawing target on her first try. Jung-bae's impressive aerial throwing skills also come through, hitting the target right away. Dae-ho successfully grabs the stones on his first attempt as well. They breeze through the first 3 challenges in just 1 minute, with plenty of time left. When they reach the 4th challenge, it's time for player 1 to spin the top. Dae-ho, excited, says, "Could it be that we all make it through in 1 try?" Player 1 throws the top confidently, but it fails. Gi-hun reassures the team, "It's okay, we have plenty of time. Let's try again." Player 1 throws again, this time sending the top flying behind him. The team rushes to retrieve it, and Gi-hun encourages him. Failure is the mother of success. Player 1 continues to wind the string as they walk back, but on the 3rd try, he fails again. Frustrated, he lets out an angry yell. Player 1 slaps himself furiously, frustrated that such a simple task has led to failure. Gi-hun calmly reassures him and tells him to take a deep breath. Jun-hee watches the clock. There's only 1 minute left. This time, player 1 succeeds, and the top spins, finally working. The 5 teammates walk toward the final round, with Gi-hun kicking the shuttlecock 4 times in a row. On the last kick, player 1 stretches out his foot, and the shuttlecock lands perfectly on Gi-hun's foot. In the final second, they cross the finish line successfully, but the other team that started with them isn't so lucky. They all perish on the spot. Back in the dormitory, the Red Guards announce the results of the second game. There are 255 players left, with a total prize pool of 20.1 billion won. If split evenly, each person would receive 78.82 million won. But the players are disappointed. Not even 1 billion. One complains, "Where can I find someone to beat me up? The compensation would be more than this." They express their dissatisfaction, completely ignoring the fact that real lives were lost. Gi-hun, in disbelief, looks at the others. These people are so fixated on the money, yet they don't care about the lives lost along the way. He reflects on the moment 3 years ago when he first entered the game, watching as those around him fell one by one. When it came to the final round, even his closest friend sacrificed his life just for Gi-hun to claim the prize. In the aftermath of the first Squid Game, Gi-hun, the victorious player, uses his 45.6 billion won prize money to clear his debts. Now, with fiery red hair, he is determined to take down the organizers once and for all. He enlists the help of the gangster who once loaned him money, asking him to mobilize his men to search for the mysterious recruiter in the subway. It was there, years ago, that Gi-hun first encountered the figure. If the game is still running, the recruiter is likely still recruiting new participants. Gi-hun promises a reward of 1 billion won for finding him. The gangster immediately offers a bigger incentive. Whoever finds him, I'll give them 0.5 billion. Across the entire Seoul subway system, people are stationed from dawn till dusk, constantly reporting their progress. The gangster and his subordinate work together, but after 2 years of searching, the younger man is ready to give up. We've been running around the subway stations for 2 years. There's no recruiter. Just as they are about to quit, a loud noise echoes through the station. As the train pulls away, they spot the recruiter slapping someone. It is at this moment that they realize Gi-hun was telling the truth all along. Without hesitation, the two pursue the figure, and the recruiter heads towards a nearby park. The recruiter gives a choice to a homeless person, bread or a lottery ticket. The homeless man chooses the lottery, and most others follow suit. Only a few opt for bread. The recruiter takes all the bread, throws it on the ground, and loudly declares,
이 빵을 버린 건 제가 아니라 선생님들입니다.
He then proceeds to stomp on the bread. The gangster and his subordinate follow the recruiter, but are caught in an alley. The recruiter ties them up and forces them to play rock, paper, scissors with their hands. The loser faces punishment. He loads a bullet into his gun, spins the chamber, and points it at the loser's head, pulling the trigger. To protect his subordinate, the gangster takes the bullet and dies. When Gi-hun returns home, he finds the recruiter waiting for him. The man, still not satisfied with killing the gangster, challenges Gi-hun to a game of Russian roulette. With only one bullet in the chamber, they take turns pulling the trigger with a 5 out of 6 chance of survival. Gi-hun continues his streak of luck, and the recruiter dies, cursing as he falls. Meanwhile, the police officer Jun-ho, who had been shot by his brother on the island, is rescued by a captain. For 3 years, he has never given up on finding his brother, going out to sea every weekend to search each island on the map, but no leads have surfaced. One day, he seeks out Gi-hun, intending to arrest him, but before he can, he's knocked unconscious by the gangster's subordinate. When the officer wakes up, the two exchange information. They decide to team up. Jun-ho will search for his brother, while Gi-hun works to bring down the organizers of the game. The gangster's subordinate seeks revenge for his boss's death, and to prepare, Gi-hun secretly gathers weapons, embedding tracking devices in his dental implants. They recruit experienced Navy SEALs and Special Forces for a coordinated operation. Gi-hun receives word that a red-clad man has been spotted at a bar. He rushes to the scene, catching the man getting into a white car. The others follow, but the organizers appear to have anticipated this and blow up the cars of those who are tailing them. Gi-hun boldly challenges the man, taunting him with the memory of the old man in the first game who had also lost. A gas is released, and when Gi-hun regains consciousness, he finds himself back in the familiar dormitory, back in the Squid Game. Gi-hun wakes up and finds himself back at the Squid Game site, still wearing his 456 number. This time, every participant has a minimum debt of 1 billion won. Before the game starts, players must sign a new consent form, which includes the previous clauses along with an additional one. If the game is canceled, the accumulated prize will be evenly distributed among the remaining players. After each game, players can vote on whether to continue or take the money and leave. The first game soon begins, and Gi-hun sees his good friend Young-bae. He feels confident that if they can just hold out until the police arrive, they'll be fine. But his subordinate finds a tracker in one of the baitfish, and when Gi-hun pulls out his dental implant, he discovers that the tracker is gone. Things just took a dangerous turn. The young girl announces the game rules. Gi-hun runs to the front and warns everyone that this is no simple game. If you're detected, you'll die, he says. This game is not a game at all, it's your life at stake. The Squid Game players were too naive. Although most of them didn't believe that losing the game would mean death, they still followed Gi-hun's lead for the first 3 rounds. No one was eliminated, but when a bee appeared, the first woman was killed. Soon after, the second and third players lost their lives as well. The sound of gunfire echoed throughout the room, and the players couldn't hold back their fear. When they rushed towards the door, their lives had already ended. Seeing so many people die, the remaining players finally began to believe Gi-hun. Under his leadership, they formed an orderly line and tried their best to minimize casualties. After the first round, only 365 players remained, with a total prize of 9.1 billion won. Each player could receive 24,930,000 won if they were to split the prize equally. The vote began. Those who wanted to continue the game pressed the circle button, and those who wanted to quit pressed the X button. Starting with the last number, Gi-hun decisively pressed the X button, placing his vote badge on his right chest. More and more players stepped forward to cast their votes. As the votes piled up, it seemed that the majority were in favor of continuing the game. Gi-hun stood up, trying to wake everyone up.
이러다 정말 다 죽어요!
If we win the vote, we can leave right now. But Player 100 spoke out against him. The game hasn't even started, and you're scaring us. Are you an insider sent by the organizers? The old woman stepped forward to support Gi-hoon. If it weren't for him guiding us, we would all be dead by now. Please don't let greed cloud your judgment. The players were split into two factions, and arguments broke out. Gi-hoon confessed, laying everything bare. I knew from the very first game because I've played before. 3 years ago, everyone who played with me died. If you continue with the game, you'll end up just like those people. None of you will make it out alive. Despite Gi-hoon's warnings, the players weren't deterred. Instead of backing down, they were more eager to continue, thinking, after all, we have the former champion with us. The voting scene in Squid Game played out like history repeating itself. The votes were tied 182 to 182, and the decision now rested with player number 1. Amid the shouts from both sides, number 1 stepped forward and chose to continue the game. When he turned around, Gi-hoon was shocked to discover that no one was actually the leader of the red-clad guards, the police officer Jun-ho's older brother, but Gi-hoon had no idea of his true identity. Player 1 approached Gi-hoon and asked confidently, "What's the next game?" Gi-hoon, still thinking he had control of the situation, replied, "The next game is Dalgona Candy Game. You pick one shape from 4 options and you need to extract it from the candy. The triangle is the easiest, the umbrella the hardest." The next day, they arrived at the game site, but this time the scene was different. A sudden bad feeling hit Gi-hoon as he realized the game wasn't the same Dalgona candy from before. This time, it was a team-based game. They were required to form groups of 5 and complete 5 stages in 10 minutes. Gi-hoon immediately thought, this is a trap. Yesterday, they had been so sure of themselves, feeling like they had the upper hand, but now everything had changed. Player number 100 yelled at Gi-hoon, "You made it sound like you knew everything."
당신 개소리 믿고 여기 남은 사람들 어떡할 거야?
Player 1 stepped forward to support Gi-hoon. Meanwhile, the old man cursed and stormed off. After some quick thinking, Gi-hoon managed to gather 5 people, including the pregnant woman Jun-hee, who begged to join their group. Despite initial hesitation, Gi-hoon decided to let her in. The organizers announced the rules. The group had to complete 5 tasks within 5 minutes and cross the finish line to succeed. Thankfully, everyone in Gi-hoon's group had their own strengths, and they quickly divided the tasks. Meanwhile, the other groups were struggling to pass their stages, and their failures were making the onlookers anxious. Dae-hoo, ever the opportunist, started practicing with the stones on the ground during the downtime. As the game progressed, the strongman team struggled with Biseokchigi challenge. The tension was unbearable, and the men were so terrified that they ended up urinating themselves before finally succeeding. Meanwhile, another team managed to break through to the 4th round, but their victory was short-lived. Before they could celebrate, the timer ran out, and they were declared dead. Both teams failed. When the 3rd team took the stage, the players waiting on the sidelines were even more nervous than the competitors. They felt each failure deeply and cheered loudly when success was achieved. Under the intense scrutiny of the others, this team managed to succeed. As the players continued to rotate, some walked out with confidence, while others were carried away by the red-clad guards. Gi-hoon and his team spent their waiting time preparing themselves mentally. When it was their turn, they performed well. Though player 1 faced a minor setback during the 4th round, the success of the first 3 teammates bought him enough time. With the final Gegi successfully kicked by Gi-hoon, they managed to complete the game without too much trouble. After this round, only 255 players remained, with a prize pool of 20.1 billion won. If split evenly, each player would receive 78,823,530 won. Next came the voting stage, where most players cast their votes in favor of continuing the game. Before Gi-hoon could even speak, player 1 stepped forward and protested, "Are you all insane?
정신 좀 차리고 저 돈 가지고 나가."
You need to survive before you think of anything else." When the old man, number 100, stood up and argued, "Taking that money won't change a thing. It won't even cover a 1/10 of my debt." He passionately stirred the crowd, urging everyone to continue with the game, despite the deadly stakes. As emotions flared, it quickly turned into a heated debate, with people shouting and raising their arms, determined to play another round. When the votes were counted, 139 players voted to continue, and 116 voted to stop. Things went south since the last vote, with even more folks desperate to stick around. Gi-hoon and his 5 teammates had formed a small alliance, vowing to help each other through the challenges and leave together with the money. On the new day, the third game began. The objective was for players to find their teammates. The game kicked off with everyone planted on a spinning platform. Numbers would be called out, and players had to find the right number of teammates. If they didn't find the exact number, they would fail. For example, if the number 5 was called out, each room could only accommodate 5 players. Too few or too many people would result in failure, and anyone left without a room would fail as well. The tension in the hall was palpable as the game began, and the usual music playing in the background couldn't distract anyone. Everyone was too focused on finding their teammates and surviving the game. The system announced 10 people, and a 30-second countdown started. Chaos erupted as people scrambled to find others to team up with. Gi-hoon and his 5-person team found 4 people, but they were still 1 short. In desperation, one of the men grabbed a random person and dashed toward an empty room. As the time expired, the door shut behind them, sealing off 2 worlds. Those inside survived, while those outside were shot dead. The game continued, and Thanos took another happy pill, further enhancing his frantic determination. The rotating platform spun again, and the red lights flashed. This time, the required number was 4. Thanos ruthlessly kicked one of his own teammates aside to secure a spot. Meanwhile, the third group, who had just succeeded, abandoned their teammate, the Witch. Player 1 made a quick decision to find a partner on his own, sending Gi-hoon's group of 4 ahead. Time flew by, and after 30 seconds, the door automatically locked. The men thought they had evaded detection, but the red-clad guards spotted them via surveillance. They showed no mercy and opened fire on their group. The game became even more brutal as the rounds went on. The next round required only 3 people to form a team, and Gi-hun and Player 1 told Junhee and the others to go ahead, and they'd recruit a 3rd person later. The mother and son were forcibly separated. At first, the son resisted, but eventually he followed the others, leaving his mother behind. In a moment of confusion, the mother was taken by Player 1. As the door closed behind them, time ran out. Gi-hoon, Player 1, and the mother formed a new team. When asked about her son's whereabouts, the mother lied, saying they got separated and didn't mention how her son had abandoned her. The remaining players returned to the spinning platform for what would be the final round. Now, only 126 players were left. Player 1 guessed the number would be 2, with 50 rooms available for the pairs. Pairing up makes exactly 100 people. His prediction was correct. After the platform stopped spinning, it revealed that only pairs of 2 could enter the rooms and survive. Forming teams was easy at first, and people quickly found their partners. But when they reached the door, fierce competition broke out as everyone scrambled for a spot, some willing to betray or fight to stay alive. As the Squid Game continued, the tension escalated. Thanos kicked 2 players out of the way and rushed into a room with his teammate. More players followed, slamming doors behind them to secure their survival. However, Player 1 grabbed a man trying to enter another room, allowing Young-bae to go first. While dealing with the others outside, he found another person already in the room. In a moment of cold efficiency, Player 1 strangled the man, tightening his grip as time ran out. In the final second, with a twist, he killed the man. After the third game, only 100 players remained, with a prize pool of $35.6 billion, meaning each player would receive $356 million if they won. Once again, it was time to vote on whether to continue or end the game. Gi-hoon, having seen the horrors of the previous rounds, thought the remaining players should now understand how deadly the game truly was. With 100 players left, the vote was evenly split, and a tie seemed likely. However, Young-bae began to grow suspicious of Player 1. He recalled the sound of the man's neck snapping earlier and wondered if Player 1 had done it on purpose. He was about to tell Gi-hoon this when he saw Player 1 vote. Young-bae feared the worst, thinking Player 1 might vote to continue. As Young-bae spoke, Player 1 unexpectedly voted against the game. With a tie vote in place, the red-clad figures decided to hold a revote the next day, leaving everyone in suspense. The Squid Game is taking place on a secret island, and Junho, along with the subordinate, have not given up on tracking down its location. This time, they deployed a drone for aerial reconnaissance, which led them to discover a door on the island. However, when they opened the door, an explosion occurred, forcing the captain to decide to stay on the island overnight and continue the search the next day. Back at the game site, Thanos was stirring trouble. He found the player who had voted against continuing the game and threatened him, demanding that he vote in favor of continuing the game tomorrow. However, 333, an economic blogger who had once advised Thanos to invest in cryptocurrencies, leading to his financial ruin, intervened. Thanos warned him to mind his own business, or he would be the next target. As the voting continued, the remaining 100 players were split into two factions. The rivalry between them grew, with each side growing increasingly hostile. Their disagreements quickly escalated into a physical confrontation, further intensifying the tension in the game. A crucial moment arrived when the economic blogger was nearly strangled by Thanos. Just as the blogger was about to lose consciousness, a fork was thrust into Thanos' neck, killing him instantly. After the altercation in the restroom, which resulted in the deaths of 5 players, the tension among the remaining contestants reached a boiling point. Gi-hun sensed that the rival faction would not easily accept their losses. He anticipated an attack from them and knew he wouldn't get any sleep tonight. Taking action, he gathered a group of allies and made a plan. After the lights went out, they would hide under the beds to conserve their strength, wait for the inevitable chaos to unfold, and then use the distraction to their advantage. As the night wore on and tensions escalated, their prediction came true. The red-suited guards intervened to stop the violence, but Gi-hun and his group seized the opportunity. They ambushed the guards, stole their weapons, and killed them. The group gained control of the scene and destroyed the surveillance cameras, preventing the organizers from monitoring their actions. Emboldened by their success, Gi-hun encouraged everyone to unite and fight back against the organizers. He believed that if they all stuck together, they could end the game and escape the island alive. Gi-hun led a group to rebel against the organizers of Squid Game, but most of the players refused to join the fight. Only a small group followed Gi-hun to attack the red-suited guards on the upper floors, leading to an intense gun battle inside the Rainbow Castle. Gi-hun and Young-bae went to find the entrance to the control room, while Player 1 stayed behind to delay the remaining players. Gi-hun, wearing a mask, entered the control area and kept in constant communication with Player 1. However, although Player 1 heard that Gi-hun was making good progress, he wasn't happy. To make matters worse, their ammunition was running low. Dae-ho was in charge of retrieving more ammo from the dormitory. He had collected a lot of magazines, but just as he was about to leave, the sound of gunfire outside scared him into stopping. Gi-hun, unaware that Dae-ho had backed down, gave the last of their ammo to Player 1. He just needed to hold out until Dae-ho arrived. But then, Player 1 suddenly turned on him, shooting at his own teammates. After running out of bullets, he switched to the ammunition Gi-hun had given him and shot the dying teammate. Player 1 then ordered the red-suited guards to clean up the scene. Gi-hun was forced to surrender, and the rebellion ended in failure. The person in the black mask walked down and said,
영웅놀이는 재밌어.
"This is what happens when you play the hero." He then shot Young-bae, taking him out of the game. Gi-hun was pinned to the ground by the red-suited guards. What will he do next? This is where it ends. This is the plot of Squid Game Season 2. Kay recommends watching the original series. If you liked this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Looking forward to meeting you again next time.